So I'm still following. Oh, I'll try to fix a shaky hand. Watch, look in the center to here. This is just on a cell phone. All the videos I put up are off the cell phone, so they're not edited. You can tell how I'm walking around and talking. It's not about the editing. It's about capturing a moment of truth. Watch, see, are you noticing how his grain shifted? Look, like watch these lines right in here. Oh, I know, fluorescent light. Oh, wait, look how it all changed. And then you can see another angle of those tubes. It almost looks like a sand dune stuck up right there. There's depth. Your here is getting darker because you're being able to see deeper into the wood structure. Hang on. See how those meridians like are still there? There, you see the shift? Watch like right here at the end, in that dark place, in that transition to the tan. See how the lines, because it almost makes it look like these blip, the long ones. Watch. Yeah. So as your head moves, you'll notice that like these have undulations because the tubes are so small and they're all sticking up slightly at a different angle. So as each one of those tube ends hits the light, it's going to reflect a little differently. And so it gives, because with the varnish, if you put enough mineral spirits in it, you can get it to go deeper into the wood. And then sanding, like a lot of things in life, it's easy to have backwards. So if I don't know, a piece of paper, so you follow the finger. If you have a mountain that you want to knock down, I take off the top of the mountain, I take off big chunks of the mountain because I use really thick grit paper that's very rough. And then as you make the mountain flatter, it also means there's a bigger space at the bottom, right? So you're gonna actually sand a larger surface area, and you're gonna use a smaller chunk of stone to do it. So that's like a 40 grit. You would ruin the table at this point. I won't go any lower now on that table than 300 grit. So I started switching to the meshes. They don't clog and they do last longer. You can see here on that's sanding that I'll start getting into, but then at some point you switch over to these pieces of paper from Germany that here, maybe it's Spain. No, Wasserfest, Matador Wasserfest. So I don't know. I assumed it's German, but I don't actually know. But you get into like 5,000 grits and 7,000 grits, because as you're building up the thickness of the varnish, and varnish is a liquid, like if it's good stuff, it looks like a liquid like honey, but 90% of it is a solid. And so you can make the particle really small and you can get it go down into the tube. So as you sand it, you have to spend a lot more time with each one of the grits, right? So the amount of work you can do removing material with 40 grit is so much faster. It goes so much quicker. So most things in Mother Nature are like parabolic curves. It's some sort of like this curve, like just starts running and running and running. And a lot of the times, because arrogance, you see it? It happens over here too. And it definitely happens through here. Like, see these like horizontal lines starting to go across? So as we get to a 220 grit, if you're going to spend an hour or an hour and a half with a 220 grit, you got to spend like 2-3 hours with the next grit. And so between each coats on this table, I just sand it until I can't make it look any better, whatever that entails. And I found it to be kind of like a window, and the size of the window changes. So in the beginning, I can't get into the really high grits yet. The surface is still too rough because it's not completely filled in. It looks like a piece of glass here, but if you had a better camera or or some way to hold it steady. And once it dried, you can see like a little bit. See those little dimples right there? That's not dust. So the liquid got filtered down to the micron level. It's the ends of the tube. Some of the ends are like much bigger, and so it doesn't quite yet bridge it, and you'll see the texture of the grain in it. It's getting close to, though. So I didn't change the buildup rate for those wood nerds out there. Like, I kept the mixture at about 95% mineral spirits, 5% varnish. And then I started adding just a little bit of varnish back into it. But at no rate is the mixture, even now, I still bet you I'm in the 80 percentile. Like, it's been off-gassing in a can, so I've noticed it been getting a little thicker. So I've been adding mineral spirits that keep it, like, ballpark in the 80-90 range. Because I want the layers, like, we have the other idea backwards, too. If you have, like, a bunch of big mountains, then it's easier for the liquid to bridge it and not get all the way to the bottom in the valley of the mountain. And so you'll get gaps. So this effect you won't see because there's too many of those gaps distorting it. Look at it. See the lines coming this way? And then it'll start like shifting around and changing. They almost link up. And then you start getting all these little ones coming this way. You're seeing a beam of light in 3-dimension. You're seeing this beautiful amorphic 3-dimensional shape. But the spirit is every time you increase the grit, you got to spend more time doing it. You got to work your butt off on it. And at some point, you won't notice the return. And then once those valleys get bridged up, then the gaps will be closer together that'll start letting me like take up with higher grits. And I don't go higher than 7,000. And if I had access to a buffer, like at some point, I'll get an automobile buffer, and then I could like wet sand in a meaningful way. But if you're just doing it by hand, like you just have so much work and effort to do. See here, like the darks, watch. So you're seeing down, you're seeing 3 dimensions. It's awesome. And it's interesting how many like patterns in the Mother Nature are like replicant like that. So I got that done, and just thought somebody, if my kids were around, I would be sharing this with them. And I didn't sleep well last night because there's no break for these kids. There's no respite for them. Our public systems right now are not in the business of listening. And I don't know why. I can switch it around. I'm assuming if I was you, I'd rather look at the table than me. But if you're a public servant, how would you ever know what your problems are and what you need to work on so that you can put your efforts in the right direction if you aren't in the habit of listening to the people that you took a vow to help? Right? So they make you stand up and you're going to put your hand on a book of religion of your preference, and you're going to take this oath. And the oath you're going to take out in the open in front of everybody after you've earned a doctorate, after you pass a really hard test. You're going to take this oath that you're here to serve the Constitution and to serve your neighbor, to serve your people. And then it turns out technology comes up with this awesome tool like YouTube or Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat. Like, I don't get it yet. And I'm late to the party. I've been a housewife. Notice those radiance coming this way. And so as the abusive environment got worse and increased, I found I couldn't hang out and chat and talk with friends. And one of the dilemmas for that, like, it's common. Like, a lot of people who get abused, we isolate ourselves, and be sure they'll try to isolate you. But this one I would hope to know. Hey, Katie, Leah, Michael. I love you, and I miss you very, very much. And it's okay to speak ideas with passion and aggression. So don't let the feelings get in the way of seeing things with clarity. And so when you're having a strong feeling, you won't be able to get to the problem. You won't see it. You'll see parts of it for sure. But it's like that movie, right? You're wearing sunglasses that have a red lens. Red lens? So you're going to see everything distorted.